Hi all, today we're going to talk about Bad Batch Episode 6, titled Decommissioned. Just as a note, there will be spoilers, so if you haven't watched this episode yet, this is the official spoiler warning. In this episode, we see the Bad Batch are still on Ord Mantell and are talked into taking a job from Sid. Their job for this episode is to recover a decommissioned tactical droid on Corellia before it is completely destroyed. Important to note is that the Bad Batch have no idea who they are ultimately pulling this job for, which is pretty sketchy. I would hope that Sid isn't leading them down some dark path, but we just don't know enough about Sid at this point to know if that is the case. We also see Omega being taught how to use her new Zygerian crossbow. Of course, she isn't any good with it at first, and Sid says this is because her arms are weak. But by the end of the episode, we see her able to fire the crossbow and actually hit her intended targets. Additionally, in this episode, we get to see what is happening to the droid army now that the war is over. It isn't surprising that they are being decommissioned and melted down. The Martez sisters are a significant part of this episode since they are after the tactical droid as well. I was caught off guard by seeing those two again, as I was under the impression they were not a fan favorite when they were in the arc in the last season of the Clone Wars. Well, I guess in some ways it is good to see that the Bad Batch's story connects with everything in the Star Wars universe, but as a fan there are plenty of other characters I would love to see the Bad Batch connect with besides those two characters. Not that I am truly against seeing them since they did help Ahsoka and gave her an outsider's perspective on the Clone War, but I am dying to see someone like Rex, or Hondo, or a character that we have spent significant time with in previous content show up in this series to see how they are doing in the immediate aftermath of Order 66. That being said, we see the sisters contact someone at the end of the episode, and we don't get to see that person's face. I know a lot of speculation has been that it was Rex or Ahsoka. However, as much as I would love to see Ahsoka, I don't think it is her. I know Disney plays fast and loose with the canon when it serves their purpose, but if we are to take what happened in the Ahsoka book as canon, then Ahsoka is in isolation and doesn't really have contact with anyone for quite some time after Order 66. I know that some of the book has already been retconned in the last season of the Clone Wars, so I suppose it wouldn't be a large stretch for more to be retconned. But at some point, I would hope that Disney would quit vastly retconning their own material. Or if they're going to retcon material, there's other material that I would like for them to look at, specifically in movie form. Plus, it makes it frustrating to go after the additional content that isn't in TV series or movie form, just to know that it will probably be retconned. It begs the question of what is the point of putting out the additional material in the first place? Sure, the Ahsoka book was done before the final season of the Clone Wars came out, and certainly before the Bad Batch was a twinkle in someone's eye, so the book told a story that makes it hard for the Disney juggernaut to keep putting out material with Ahsoka during this point in the Star Wars timeline. However, I really liked the book, and to me, the actions she took in that book made sense at that point in time in her life with the events that unfolded after Order 66. As much as I like her character, I hate to see all of that change just to keep her popping up in Star Wars shows. I also would hope that Dave Filoni would be careful about retconning Ahsoka material as well, since Ahsoka is really essentially his baby. Alright, let me get off my soapbox for now and return to the episode. I know that it also looks like the Martez sisters have Ahsoka's droid R7, but just because they have her droid doesn't really mean it is her making an appearance at the end of the episode. There are a number of reasons they could have her droid without her being a part of the story right now. It could be as simple as they went looking for her to see if she was okay after Order 66, and found her droid when they found the wreckage in the graves. Moving on, I would love for it to be Rex that the sisters are talking to, because, well, it's Rex, and we also saw him in a trailer for the series. All of that being said, the person looks like they are possibly wearing robes, which I just can't see Rex wearing. I mean, sure, he could be wearing robes to blend in somewhere, but really? Rex in robes? I was of the mind that it might be someone more like Bail Organa, as that fits more what we see him wearing throughout the Clone Wars series. We also know he is part of what becomes the Rebellion, and as such he would be working to find ways, or in this case artifacts like the tactical droid, which could help chip away at and ultimately bring down the Empire. At any rate, we see the Bad Batch and the Martez sisters squabble over the tactical droid's head. Omega gets in a bit of trouble, which requires her to be rescued as a result of the squabble, and both groups get pinned down by the police droids. The tactical droid's head is used to get them out of the trouble they are in, and ultimately winds up destroyed. Luckily, the Bad Batch were able to make a copy of the information in the tactical droid and give it to the Martez sisters. There's a conversation between Hunter and Rafa at the end of the episode when the information is exchanged that I think was pretty significant. Hunter notes that it was much easier for them when they were just soldiers, and Rafa notes that eventually everyone has to pick a side. I think this is significant because so much has changed for the Bad Batch and they are having to find their place in this new empire. They are going to eventually have to pick a side, which is what Rafa was talking about. And for Rafa, after seeing her be a bit shady in the Clone Wars, has now clearly picked a side. It may also be easier for her now that she has picked a side and has orders to follow to help that side. There was really a lot said without being said in just that little short exchange between those two. I have previously touched on the fact that the Bad Batch don't feel quite as powerful as they did when we met them in the Clone Wars. I know an argument could be made for them missing a team member since Crosshair isn't with them, which is leaving a hole in their ability to be a complete and functional elite team. An argument could also be made for them only ever really fighting droids, so they are lacking when it comes to fighting other beings. And yet another argument could be that poor Wrecker was down for the count for a good chunk of the episode too. However, they seem to be on the same ability level as the Martez sisters, which just didn't feel right. They were also pinned down by police droids, which is something they should easily be able to handle since they are droids and that was their specialty. I don't think that the sisters should have been able to get the drop on them, much less keep up with them in this episode. It just felt like there has been a shift in the Bad Batch's power level that isn't believable. Also, I love the dad joke in there about is there an Echo in here, and of course Echo responds to that question. We were all thinking about making that joke at some point, and you have to know deep down, Echo was hoping someone would set him up for that joke too. This is, I think, the third week that we have been without any real update on the Empire or Crosshair. I'm really starting to miss that portion of the story, as I would really like to know what is going on with Crosshair and how those pieces on the chessboard are moving around. Hopefully this next week we will get something from them. It doesn't even have to be much, just a little snippet in the episode to keep us updated is all that is really needed. Finally, I know I have been harping on this for weeks now, but it's time to talk about Wrecker. He hit his head again in this episode, and this time after he hits his head, we hear him say those dreaded words, "Good soldiers follow orders." Which it just about broke my heart to hear him say that. I like Wrecker since he is a big goofy teddy bear, so it really hurt a bit to hear him say those dreaded words. This is clearly building to something, and it isn't going to be good. The Bad Batch are going to have to deal with Wrecker being a good soldier following orders, and I suspect it is going to get pretty ugly when it happens. Well, all that being said, this was an okay episode. It's not that I disliked the episode, I just simply found it okay when compared to the other episodes we have gotten so far. I think it was a good thing that it left us with a small cliffhanger since we don't know who the Martez sisters were talking to at the end of the episode. Alright, so here are my questions for y'all about this episode. Who do you think the Martez sisters were talking to at the end of the episode? We know that Sid gave the Bad Batch the job to go after the tactical droid. Who do you think put that job out there? How do you feel about the power level of the Bad Batch so far in this series? Also, I would love to use these videos to showcase fan art. If you have any you would like for me to include in the videos, please send it over, and I will do my best to include it. Well, I think that is about it for this entry. So I just wanted to say that I hope you have a great day, and may the Force be with you.